What's up, everybody? Welcome to Group Chat Football Live. I am here with the Fink. Got a great list of players we're going to be breaking down here all across the country. Yeah, you're seeing teams emerge, you're seeing a playoff race, but there are a lot of underrated studs that are emerging that you're going to be hearing about as we get into the playoff, as we get into the draft. And we're going to talk about them first here on Group Chat Sports. Remember to like and subscribe to the show. We'll be going live now back on this channel, cutting up all the videos as well of the various players. Fink, how we feeling?
Man, I'm feeling good. I'm a little nervous. As a Kentucky fan, we got Louisville in basketball tonight. I cover Florida State. They've got Florida in basketball tonight. So, as we shift into a little bit more of basketball season, I'm getting a little nervous. But I've got my ring on. Where we're I'm locked in for this Kentucky game. I have no faith in Louisville, and ultimately, I'm just happy that Mark Stoops was able to pull it out this past weekend, and I'm excited to talk about some of these underrated players.
You got a double right there with Kentucky taking care of the Gators for your Wildcats and your Knowles. But yeah, a lot of players stepping up. We profiled your boy at quarterback last week, but now we're switching to the running back position, and this is a guy that first look I see this guy. I thought it was Adrian Peterson. It's not that Adrian Peterson. It's not the guy that we saw run for 2,000 yards, but Adrian Peterson from Georgia Southern, originally from Florida. And the guy that reminds me of him, Antoine Raymond out of Rutgers. This guy's on an absolute heater right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's been arguably the most productive, if not the best overall running back in the Big Ten this year. Just phenomenal production throughout this year so far. This is a guy who he's just a true sophomore, 5'11, 205 pounds, came out of Florida, 3-star recruit, but actually he's not from Florida. He went to Clearwater Academy International, which is now disbanded, but they put out some guys when they were together, and he's a guy from Montreal, Canada. He just looks the part, man. Like, he went for 1,900 yards on 9 yards per carry and 22 touchdowns in 10 games as a senior for CAI. I just don't really understand how he was ranked so low. And what really brought him to my attention is this week's performance. 41 carries, as you can see here. We've got some of the highlight carries cut up, but 41 carries in a game, 240 yards, 1 touchdown, 17 missed tackles forced this week against Maryland. He's been one of the most productive backs in the entire Power Four this year as a true sophomore. This is a guy, like, I couldn't really find much background on him, but with those CAI guys, you always kind of question how long have they even been playing football, coming from other countries. And this is a guy who looks like he's been playing football his whole life. I don't know if that's the case, but very natural, instinctive running back.
Yeah, very natural back. You said it. The production's crazy. You raised the question, is he the best running back in the Big Ten? Could be, certainly. It's a little bit down year for Ohio State. Justice Haynes, pretty dynamic. But man, this guy is putting up crazy numbers. Rutgers really starting to become a running back factory. Right, you look at recent history, but this Montreal, Canada to Florida pipeline has been happening for a while. I know FSU, your team's been taking advantage. You think of Akeem Messidor from
Yeah.
Ottawa, Canada, who went to school in Clearwater as well. Chattanooga, Tennessee, also a spot where you'll find some of these Canadian transfers. Shakai Mills-Knight just signed with Ole Miss, a part of this pipeline. But yeah, look, it's obviously working because this guy came in ready to play. He was good as a freshman, even better now as a sophomore. Already got 1,000 yards. So maybe we'll see more of these players because they're not just coming over here to come over here. They're making an impact at a pretty high level at really multiple positions: defense, offensive line, and here on running back.
Yeah, no, you said it well. I mean, he's already got 1,000 yards. That's the 9th player in Rutgers history to have an 1,000-yard season, and he's far from done. But those CAI guys, they play both sides. They don't typically have a full-size team because their entire team is made up of, and this is a program that's no longer existing, but I really enjoyed watching them when they did exist. And you have guys like this who are playing both ways. They're playing all game, and it's just gamers. It's a team built off of gamers, guys who maybe they don't have the best technique, maybe they don't have the best athleticism, but like they've got their guys ready to play both sides of the ball for an entire game. And Antoine Raymond has just completely translated that physicality and all of that up to this level. He's got 61 missed tackles forced this year, 1,000 yards. Those are both third in the Power Four. And he's got 733 of those 1,000 yards have come after contact. So, and that's second most in the country so far. So this guy, like, he's a true sophomore. He can't even declare for the draft, and he's putting up some of the best numbers in every single advanced statistic in the country right now, and he can't even declare.
Yeah, I had to pull up the high school stuff. I have a quick trigger finger with the high school highlights. I'm always curious how these guys look at that level. You mentioned the physical development. He looks a little skinnier here than he
Definitely
is now. Obviously, look, he's been in college for a couple of years, but you do see a pretty big progression. You mentioned the yards after contact. That's one of the reasons why I made that Adrian Peterson comp. Again, not the Adrian Peterson, but the Georgia Southern Adrian Peterson, because he was a guy that just bounced off a ton of tackles, even though he was not like a 230-pound back, probably more of a 205, 210 back like Raymond. But you see, it's a natural running style. He's quick laterally. A guy like Shakai Mills-Knight, who took the Chattanooga pipeline from Canada. I believe he was also a Montreal kid, if I'm not mistaken. He was much more of a straight line kind of track runner, right? Which you can imagine. There's some big, fast guys up there in Canada. With Raymond, I think you're getting just a more classic running back profile, the patience. And look, I mean, what did Monagai go? Where did he go in the draft?
Like fifth or sixth, I think. And what's his name? Chiefs went seventh, Pacheco. And that was obviously too low. So
Pacheco.
Yeah.
I think he's probably the most like laterally quick type of those dudes. I mean, Pacheco's fast as can be, and Monagai was a beast, but this guy's just got a little more lateral to me, a little more make you miss.
Definitely, I think that's his. If you compare him to those two guys, I think that's kind of the defining trait here for Raymond. And man, like you keep him around, you pay up for this guy because he has been the most productive back in the Big Ten this year. So if you pay up for this guy, and I believe Kalik Manis is out of eligibility, you still have those receivers, but you aren't going to be able to lean on the passing game. So if I'm Rutgers, man, and I'm committed to football, I'm paying up, and I'm going to get this guy back for this year because I think we could potentially be looking at like a top 5 back in next year's class if he decides to declare.
Yeah, he probably could do some damage this year. If I were him, I'd be pretty upset because this is a weak running back year right after the great one you had last year. Last year was absolutely loaded. This year, once you get past the Notre Dame guys, I think it's a little thin. He'd fit 100%. In right in, but obviously he's got to wait his turn. Probably going to want to maximize his NIL opportunities, like Justice Haynes, right? He's living pretty good up there in Michigan, and then he'll have a chance to go into the NFL. So be interesting to watch situation with Raymond, but for right now, Rutgers has a tremendous tailback that they can get excited about.
Yeah, I mean, that Rutgers offense has been fun to watch with Kalik Manis at quarterback, KJ Duff and Ian Strong at receiver, and then we've got this super talented sophomore running back in Antoine Raymond. It's, they get a lot of plays. They play a little bit with some tempo offensively, but man, they really rack up stats. It feels like that Rutgers offense.
Now shifting to the other side of the country, the Atlantic coast, I guess, here with the California Golden Bears and one of the more exciting corner prospects to come on the board. Really great portal addition. That's Brent Austin, somebody from USF. I remember when he jumped in the portal, he was a guy that was pretty popular. I know Miami poked around here, some other schools. Cal gets it done. And when you look at Cal, you want to talk about a tradition at a position, at least a recent tradition at a position. Noel Williams, 3rd rounder, 7 INTs, 9 pass breakups. Marcus Harris, 6th round corner, 2 INTs, 6 pass breakups. Those guys go out the door. You also had Craig Woodson, a safety, going 4th round that year, and Patrick McMorris the year before, 6th round to the Dolphins. So there's a lot of NFL talent in that Cal secondary. Coach Wilcox really doing a good job there. And then he goes right back to the well and lands Brent Austin out the portal.
Yeah, I mean, Brent Austin, he kind of came on my radar in these past 2 weeks. He was unranked in 2022 out of California, spent his first 2 years of college at James Madison, kind of played a rotational cornerback role. And then last year, he spent the year at USF as a starter, and he racked up 10 pass breakups. Well, then, Cignetti signed him.
Yeah, so I put this was one of my notes.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Wow, he was in the same class as Pons.
Curt Cignetti, to me, it's about talent evaluation and other stuff he does. Yes, I included the note of the rundown. Unless I'm mistaken, I mean, he was the coach that signed Brent Austin to James Madison, and certainly took D'Angelo Pons from South Florida to James Madison. Took D'Angelo Pons to Indiana with him. I'm not sure why he didn't take a Brent Austin. He has a pretty good corner already up there. But
my best guess would be that just like they kind of used him as a rotational guy just because of his age at James Madison. And so they were already taking so many James Madison guys over to Indiana. But I'm sure Cignetti punches himself every day, that he didn't end up bringing Brent Austin. And so he goes to USF, racks up 10 pass breakups last year. Cal has to replace both their cornerbacks, Marcus Harris and Noel Williams, who were both draft picks. And they do with ease. And they've maybe improved. This is a guy, Brent Austin, only 5'11", 180. He's not some huge corner or anything like that. He leads the FBS this year so far in 13 official pass breakups, and he has 9 of those in the last 2 weeks. So he set the school record with 6 in a game 2 weeks ago. And this is my favorite play of the year by him. At the end of that game, Cal versus UNC, we've got a guy running into the end zone, and who else but Brent Austin runs over, punches the ball out, reacts, gets into the end zone, picks it up, forces a touchback to save the game. By the way, fourth quarter, game is within reach for UNC. I believe they were able to take a lead if they had scored here, and Austin punches the ball out, recovers it himself. Just a ball player. And we're going to talk about the other Cal corner here, but it's just ridiculous what they've been able to find at that position these past 2 years.
Yeah, they just got a knack for it. They're coaching them up. These guys are playing at a very high level. Different types of guys. Even these two we're talking about. So we started talking about Brent Austin, who's your shorter, feistier type of corner, short area quickness. We've seen this type of guy. The other corner, Hezekiah Massis. You're talking about a big 6'1", 185 ball hawk. Just different type of player than a Brent Austin, but both these guys have a nose for the ball. Both these guys are really outperforming the initial school they signed with and turning into legitimately impactful Power 4 players.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the second consecutive year where it feels like Cal has multiple defenders who are racking up either interceptions or pass breakups, just some sort of ball production and coverage. And in this year, you have 2 transfers who come in for their final year of eligibility, take over as the starting outside corners, and you don't miss a step. Hezekiah Massis, I think that's how you say it, but he has a different frame from Austin. 2-star in 2022. Do you remember him as a recruit? I would assume
I don't, and I was surprised that I didn't because I watched Deerfield Beach a lot. That's my neck of the woods. Yeah. So you look at this Deerfield Beach team that he was on. I remember the team extremely well. It was a very good group of defensive backs. I just didn't really appreciate what Massis brought to the table. Harlem Howard, who's a safety now at Oregon State. He's been a pretty good player, starting safety for Oregon State. But then you look at Miami, they have 2 cornerbacks from this team in OJ Frederica and Xavier Lucas, one of the better young cornerback tandems really in America for the Miami Hurricanes. Both those guys played at Deerfield Beach together. They ended up transferring to more advanced, I guess you'd say, private schools, right? The just football powers, although Deerfield Beach is a football power itself. So I don't even know if that's a fair statement. But they were all together. Howard, Lucas, Frederick, Marion Knighton, I believe, was there as well, who's now in Indiana. So you had a lot of power four type of defensive backs, and Mass has slipped through the cracks. But then I went back and watched his huddle from his senior year, and I'm wondering how I missed it, because you watch him here, you see the size, he can turn and run with guys. He's doing that on his senior tape, and then the ball skills, right? That's to me where I think he stands out, just with that size and ability to find the football. And that's something that when you go back and watch him in high school, he was doing at that time. So great evaluation by FIU and a great get in the portal for Coach Wilcox and the California Golden Bears.
Yeah, I mean, these are like the type of guys that schools like FIU need to find as recruits. Guys who can be a somewhat starter as a true freshman, especially at a position like corner. That's a massive bonus. That's great for your future. And then guys who can maybe hold it down for 2 more years as a starter, and then they're probably going to take the step up to a school like Cal. It was just it's a great evaluation. He's come in, he played immediately at FIU. And I mean, he's produced. He's got 5 interceptions this year now, 8 pass breakups in addition to that. So this is a guy, like, I understand that neither of these two were particularly highly rated transfers, but I think that, and you notice how often he's in press in these plays. And that is a theme that follows him over to FIU for Masses specifically. Cal loves to play some press man coverage. They love it. And they recognized, I think, that FIU specialized in that as well defensively. And Masses had legitimate experience playing that press man coverage. And they targeted him because they saw a market inefficiency. We see a guy who maybe isn't getting the love that he deserves, and they went all in on him. And they were somehow able to replace 2 draft picks at corner at Cal.
Crazy. And I don't know if these guys are both going to be draftable players. They could be. They certainly are going to be excellent ACC corners for the foreseeable future. And when you're looking for a common thread, different body types, but both these guys impacting the football. I mean, they both, whether it's taking it away, punching it out, pass deflections, both these guys are getting after when the ball's in the air. And look at Cal, man, back on the winning side. Were they 6-4 at the moment, I believe? So the team is playing pretty good football. Concern going to be retaining, right? When you're Cal and you've been rated as hard as they've been in the portal, and you have a quarterback that's going to be the bell of the ball should he enter the portal. The maintaining part is going to be a challenge, but maybe you just have a team that's a transient team and you're replacing guys that go out the door with players like this who are from a lower level, USF, FIU, maybe schools even more local, that probably saves some mileage. But yeah, it's an interesting team to watch. I didn't expect them to bounce back this quickly from losing a first-round quarterback and a running back that was the face of your franchise.
Yeah, I mean, I put down those 2 guys, but also what's injuries? Is that the tight end who went
tight
to
end for Texas? Yep.
Yeah, and then you lose those 2 corners to the draft. So safety, I forget his name, but they lost a significant amount of talent, especially for a school like Cal, and it just hasn't really seemed to make too much of an impact. Part of that is you get a guy like JKS in there at quarterback. That's a big difference. But yeah, I mean, they really hit on these 2 corners. I feel like that was worth mentioning. One of the most impressive transfer portal, like rebuilt position groups in the country this year, I think.
No doubt. Like, that's what they are doing. You said they rebuild their positions in the portal, not just on defense, but offense. Kendrick Raphael from NC State having a really good season. Yep. Jacob De Jesus has stepped right in, a receiver. So they lost guys in the portal, but that created opportunities for others, and they made good evaluations. So shout out to, again, Coach Wilcox. I was out there in Cal last year for the Miami game, and that was an awesome experience. I really, really like to see that team playing well. That was game day as well. So there's potential there. Just I think the coach is the right coach. He's got to keep some of this talent there and continue to add players like Hezekiah Massis and Brent Austin. So let's shift gears here to the tight end position / the quarterback position, because this guy right here can do it all, and that is Eli Stowers for Vanderbilt. One of the best athletes. You think of Vanderbilt and the New Mexico State connection, and you're thinking about like a Pavia, right? Which is somebody who was always sort of forgotten about. You didn't have the traits, but really with Stowers, he was no secret. Everybody knew this guy was a freak of nature. What's up? What's up, brother? Tur 30 Will. Good to see you. But yeah, man, it's a different type of profile. It's like almost opposites with Pavia and Stowers. Mm-hmm. One underrated true quarterback throwing it to one freak of nature who's better off another position. But that connection has been absolutely dynamic. This guy, I know, all respect to Sadiq in Oregon, some of these other players. I mean, this guy might be the best tight end in the country.
No, 100%. And I love Kenyon Sadiq, but it's tough to debate right now the way he's played over these last 2 weeks. 19 catches, 268 yards, and 2 touchdowns in his last 2 games. This is a guy who has obvious chemistry with Diego Pavia. He started his career out of high school as one of the higher-end quarterback recruits in his class, 4-star recruit, committed to Texas A&M out of Denton, and he was just a clearly freak athlete, had one of the highest high jump marks in Texas high school history at 7 feet, and he immediately switched to tight end at A&M, really didn't play for 2 years, spends his 3rd year at New Mexico State as the starting tight end for Diego Pavia, and then they decide, you know what, let's go to Vanderbilt together. And ever since then, 100 catches, 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns in his time at Vanderbilt so far. And we're not even done with season 2. So these guys have chemistry, and I bet Diego Pavia is grateful every week that the guy he has chemistry with is maybe one of the best athletes Vanderbilt has ever seen on their offense, because this is not a guy that you would expect to be playing as a pass catcher for a Vanderbilt offense.
And a ball carrier, right? I mean, This guy's getting the ball and shovel passes, handoffs. He's laterally quick. Again, Sadiq is a great player. I don't want to do this to down Sadiq, but I see him as a consensus #1 tight end in the class. He's blocking great. He has all that size and speed. Obviously, Stowers not going to have that same kind of impact as a blocker. But, man, athletically, whereas Sadiq is very much, fast, straight line. He can get up and down the field. Laterally, coordination-wise, I think that Stowers is the guy, and he's also a 7-foot high jumper, so there's no shortage of burst in his profile.
Yeah, no, I mean, the ability to make a man miss, I think, is probably the best in this tight end class. It's he hasn't flashed it as often this year just with how he's been used, but they hit a lot of those little quick over-the-middle routes last year, and more often than not, it felt like he made one defender miss with some sort of like a finesse move as opposed to just like stiff-arming a guy into the ground. He's not your typical tight end athletically. This is a guy who can really make a defender miss.
I do think Sadiq as a blocker, there's a major advantage there, as you see in some of the blocking highlights. I mean, he's just trying to get in the way most of the time, but the versatility, the ability to be not just someone who can stretch the field, not just someone who can get open short area and be a reliable target for Pavia, but then somebody who can get the ball and make something happen with it. I think it's pretty unique. I had to pull up his high school highlights just because this guy,
I'd love to
funny. Go ahead.
We got to see it. I didn't watch them, so I'd love to see it.
It's such a unique position when you start talking about, NFL players at this position that are truly the marquee pass catcher playmakers, because so rarely do they play tight end. I mean, Tyler Warren, we know about his quarterback background. Elijah Arroyo did play tight end his last couple of years in Texas, but he was originally a quarterback as well. You saw him throw a touchdown last year to Cam Ward. Colson Loveland, I believe, was a tight end prospect. Where was he coming out of? He was coming out from like South Dakota or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, so he was from I gotta look that up, but he was not from a very populous area. As you see, Stowers, man, what a athlete! And
man,
listen, we're gonna talk about somebody here in a second. As you watch these highlights, I'll just say we're gonna break down Byron Brown here next as a quarterback in college, potentially a tight end in the pros. He looks a lot like Byron Brown, to be honest.
I was just thinking that same thing. Especially when you consider the ability to move laterally and also use your physicality to break tackles. I think both of these guys at the tight end position can be like missed tackle forced machines, just whether that's physically or with your quicks, whatever it is, but just such versatile athletes.
Yeah, it's they're long striders, but they're not long striders. I mean, I'm trying to find the right way to say it because they have long strides, but they also have suddenness to them as well. As you see, I mean, this guy's again 7-foot long high jumper. The explosiveness is pretty verified there. But you see, once he gets striding, he can pull away from guys. So yeah, I wonder if Texas A&M knew he was going to be a tight end eventually, and if they did, why they weren't maybe more patient with him or more focus on keeping him, developing him as a top 100 player. It's amazing to me that a guy like this goes to New Mexico State, given that it wasn't exactly, a revelation that he might be a tight end and not a quarterback, right? Like that. Like how did this guy not get more of a shot? And shout out to Vanderbilt. Yeah, but even in the portal, right? I mean, this is a guy when you have those high end traits, pedigrees there from the recruiting standpoint. The track stuff. I don't know why more teams don't take a shot because tight end's that position where Travis Kelce, a guy that played a lot of quarterback as well. He was not a straight tight end his whole career. He was very much a quarterback coming up in Cincinnati. So, I think, Cleveland as a high school player.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, just one more of these tight end stories that we'll be talking about. But I really do believe that when you get to the Senior Bowl, and we see these guys running routes. You see all the things they can do athletically. Elijah Arroyo, someone who jumped a lot at the Senior Bowl. I could see a Stowers potentially even creeping into I don't know. I mean, how high do you think he can go? This is a weak draft up top.
I think he could probably go late round 2 would probably be like the cap, just because of the tight ends just don't always go as quick. But I did see some estimates that like he could have like a 38-inch vertical and like a 12 and a half, or not 12 and a half, 10 and a half foot broad. Like those would be pretty elite marks, and those would reflect the explosiveness that he showed as a high jumper. And man, like I don't think there's a single position in the NFL where teams care more about the athletic testing than tight end, because most of these guys just have no idea how to play the position. They've been playing it for like 2 years. They played quarterback, as you said, up to that point. They played linebacker, running back, literally anything. And they continued to grow, and their coach moved them to tight end. These coaches just want athletic tools. And this is a guy like, he's got them. He's got them.
Speaking of athletic tools in a tight end body, I'm not going to say for a tight end because that's still projecting. But if we're talking about somebody who has the build of an NFL player and is a phenomenal college football player as well, it is the very well-groomed.
I think this first picture might be.
Look at those teeth. Look at those teeth, man. You talk about.
I had to include that. I could not get over that post. I mean, that can't be healthy for his teeth, right?
I mean, they look pretty good in that picture. I'll tell you that.
They do.
He might be. It sounds ridiculous, but a guy like this meticulous. If you need someone to transition to another position and you give him a routine, if he's brushing his teeth like this, he's going to stick to the script, I got to think. But, Byron Brown, man, obviously from a USF standpoint, one of the best quarterbacks they've had. They've had some pretty good ones. I think of BJ Daniels, Winky Flowers. They get these big, strong guys that can throw the ball a little bit. So that's kind of their trademark. Byron Brown, probably the strongest and the most athletic out of all these guys. But what are you making of this very, very unique player?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't find any like good clips, but I also figure, he's kind of become maybe not a household name, but I think the listeners tuning into this are certainly familiar with Byron Brown at this point. Just a really big athletic quarterbacks listed at 6'3", 232 pounds. He's just a battering ram. He can just run through defenders, and then he can put his foot in the ground and hurdle a defender. He's just such a spectacular runner. I genuinely think like it's him and Jaden Daniels in these last 2 or 3 years. Maybe you can throw Lenoris Sellers in that group.
Yeah.
He's just so gifted as an athlete. I do question the passing development. And the reason I shouted him out this week is because he had an excellent game as a passer. 94.3 grade this week against UTSA. Went 14 for 15. You don't see that often, for 239 yards and 2 touchdowns, added 109 yards on the ground. But ultimately, and he has another year left, and maybe he follows Alex Golesh, his head coach, if he decides to leave USF. But he has 1 year left, and he can still continue to develop as a passer. But ultimately, I just question if an NFL team is going to pass up on these potential tools at a position like tight end and, expect him to develop into a legitimate starting quarterback or even a reliable backup. He's a fun college player. He's got 2,400 rushing yards in his career. He's forced almost 120 missed tackles. He's extremely fun as a college quarterback, but if we don't see that next step, man, I would love to watch this guy play tight end. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. Just he's a freak athlete.
You said it that he still has some work to do in college, right? So he's not done with his college quarterback career. A unique player, not going to fit in every system, but certainly he's proven he's productive, he's experienced, and he wins games. So, what more do you want at the college level? But yeah, I'm with you. He had a run against Boise State. That was one of the
I know exactly what you're talking about.
One of those physical, explosive runs I've seen from anybody. You think about Jeremiah Love and some of the spectacular runs he's made. Obviously, he's faster, but I'm just talking about in terms of wow type of runs where you see someone that's just different from their balance and their strength and their athleticism. That was that type of run. Obviously, at the quarterback position, I think if this guy plays tight end at the NFL and he's got time to develop into this, you could not only have a very competent player, but a potential star at that position. We've talked about it. We just talked about Eli Stowers, right? It's a position that a lot of guys sort of fall into. Jimmy Graham played 1 year of college football. Forget the position. Football, period, with the pads on, and he's one of the greatest tight ends of his era. George Kittle is a tight end, pretty much, I think was a receiver in high school, played tight end, but he was not somebody that was overly productive. He was a great athletic tester, and that was honed once he got to the pros. We talked earlier about Kelsey being a tight end growing up in Cleveland. A quarterback, growing up in Cleveland and switching to tight end. So it happens all the time. And I think what makes him unique from some of the other guys that we've talked about is he's not just like a straight line, long striding athlete. This guy is powerful. He is explosive. He can crouch. He can explode. I got to pull up his high school huddle because I don't remember this guy as a recruit at all. But yeah. I'm sure he's probably been hearing teams trying to move the tight end for a while, and he's been saying, I'm a quarterback. And to this point, who can argue with him?
Yeah, no, he's made a statement so far in his career, I think. Obviously got a little banged up last year. Only ended up tallying 800 total passing yards just because of the amount of time that he missed. But the year before, I think it was Jaden Daniels and Byron Brown were the only quarterbacks in that season, maybe ever, to have 1,000 rushing yards and 3,000 passing yards or something like that. But he's put up numbers, even as a redshirt freshman, and the hype has obviously died down a little bit. Man, he's got an arm.
Yeah, and I'm sure this is by design that he put his high school highlights all throwing, right? That's part of Lamar Jackson not running at the combine. You want to make sure people respect you as a passer, but man,
there we go. Now we see it.
He's fast, man. He's not I wonder what he runs. I think he's got to be in that 4.6 range, right? You think
crack 4.5. I wouldn't be totally stunned if he cracked 4.5, especially if he cut a few pounds. But
yeah, and then if you get that 4.5 range running with this kind of strength and power, and you do still have the versatility. You think of Jordan Reed right there from the University of Florida, similar. I don't know. I'm excited to see where this guy goes. I hope he sticks at USF just because he'd be a legend there. And BJ Daniels, Quentin Winky Flowers, the Mac Rothy, I don't remember him. He was another guy that was just kind of a big physical player. They have a type, and he fits it like a glove. He's really the new prototype at USF, and he has a chance, especially if he stays and they keep winning or they make the playoffs this year, be the best quarterback in USF history.
Yeah, I mean, when I was just digging through his profile earlier, USF's like page for him, the first thing it says is Byron Brown holds 16 USF records. Some of them are a little, fraudulent, whatever, very specific, but he holds 16 USF records. So that's midway through his junior season or his second to last potential season. And yeah, as you said, I would like to see him stay here just because I like USF. They're committed. They're building, I
Yep.
think,
Building
even
a
if
stadium.
Golesh even leaves. But also, I wouldn't rule out like this could be a guy who's just one of those dominoes in this transfer portal cycle. If Golesh leaves, is he going
Yeah.
to follow him? Because this would be one of the higher end quarterback targets in the transfer portal for sure.
Yeah, you think Florida State, I know, has been linked to Golesh. That makes a lot of sense. Does Castellanos have any eligibility?
He has to sue if he wants to get another year. It's
Yeah.
his freshman year at UCF was the last year that bowl games counted against your red shirt. So that was his fifth game. And then his sophomore year, they changed the rule. I think he would probably win that ruling, but who knows? I mean, it's the NCAA.
Yeah, but no quarterback in waiting. Obviously, if there's a quarterback or coaching change, it could make sense. That's a incentive if you're getting a goalish and you're trying to win right away, turn around right away. There's not going to be many quarterbacks more ready to win than Byron Brown in that system. But we'll see. And does he want to? Part of it might be he wants to go somewhere we can develop as a passer. I'm not saying that's the case, but you've seen quarterbacks say, I have a stigma that I can only run this type of offense. Let me show you I can go to some standard pro style offense and throw the ball. Now, I don't think that would be a wise decision for him. And I don't have any information that's the case. But to me, keep doing what you're doing. Keep playing quarterback the way you play quarterback. And then when it's time to switch positions, if that time comes, which I think might make the most sense down the road, do it like you brush your teeth and fully committed. And I think you'll have a lot of success at the pro level. Honestly, I think this guy's a longtime pro. If his head's in it, which it seems like it is, he has all the tools to stand out at that level physically.
Man, and I mean, he could be a bust at quarterback, and he could be your third tight end. This is a legitimate special teamer. Like, I know that's kind of getting in the weeds, but like big frame, super athletic for his size, like seems to have that dog in him where like he's not afraid to go tackle somebody. Like that's the type of stuff that coaches are going to factor in when they're deciding like, do we want to spend our 7th rounder, 6th rounder on this guy? Yeah, like Byron Brown will probably go be one of your best special teamers if he doesn't play quarterback. I can't say the same about Tommy,
And you're talking about a big time winner. You're talking about a big time winner. I mean, at the end of the day, there's a guy who you look at USF and the trajectory of their program last year. That was a good football team, a rock solid football team that won most of the games that they were supposed to win. Just pulling it up here, it's at 7-6, and then this year 7-2, ranked 17th in America. That's a lot of W's for USF while playing a pretty hellacious out of conference schedule as well. And he won 7 games the year before that. So I mean, this is a guy who's not just a winning player, but an experienced, consistent winning player. And remember, the year before he got there, obviously Golesh had a lot to do with this as well. Won 11 ball club. So all those kind of things, I think, bode well if you're trying to sell somebody on Byron Brown.
Absolutely. I mean, he's probably assuming he returns, which I would be shocked if he ended up declaring for the NFL draft this year. I mean, that's probably a borderline top 12 to 15-ish quarterback just because of some of the passing limitations, maybe even higher, to be honest, depending on if Golesh leaves or if he leaves and they get into a better situation. He's super talented, and if you have an offensive coordinator who can build around those athletic tools, man.
Be fun to watch, man. That'll be fun to watch. So if you are interested in rising talent, recruiting, portal, which we're going to cover like nobody else, I promise you, NFL draft, just player personnel, the things that don't go on the front page of ESPN, but that really matter to college football fans and to college football games on Sunday. We're going to like and subscribe to Group Chat Sports, Group Chat Football Live. We'll keep this thing rocking and rolling with the Fink. Fink, man, appreciate you joining us. It was fun.
I appreciate it.